What I've learned about hip pain, I'm going to start that again. What I've learned about hip pain relief that every parent over 40 needs to know. So does that mean if you're under the age of 40, you need to switch off? No. Tune in, listen in. There's always going to be something beneficial you can take away from my session. So welcome, everybody. It's Jason Barlow, RMT. I'm here today as your therapist and as your coach to help you transform any stress, tension, and pain into health, happiness, and vitality instead. Hip pain, in fact, any pain, it's not cool, right? But why is the body producing pain? Remember, I'm a big advocate of the body is trying to tell you something. It's communicating to you. That's its very means by which it gets your attention. It forces you to stop doing things. What you've got to be skilled and become wiser at understanding is what is it trying to tell you? What is it stopping you from doing? You know, I just had an amazing experience. I'll talk to this experience maybe in another future podcast. I won't get too deep into it right now, but it was a brilliant experience last week. I'll just call it energy healing. And within the context of energy healing, there's these beautiful metaphors that translate across. For example, if you struggle with cold feet, if you're having chronic shoulder pain, if you're having chronic neck pain, headaches, hip pain, knee pain, and you've done all general, conventional, and traditional forms of therapy, but it's not getting to the root of your pain. It may be something deeper that you're not acknowledging. And for some people, this can be very uncomfortable. I'm going to put my hand up. I know what that feels like. I used to struggle as a child, especially in early teenage years, with some anxiety and a lot of worry. And that's not to say it just went away. It edged off. Now I feel like I'm at a stage of my life, having gone through these experiences and found tools to help me I'm not going to stand here before you or sit here before you and say that I've conquered it all. No. Certainly not. I've got a long ways to go, but I will tell you this, that where I've come on my journey has proven to me what's possible. And so with respect of pain manifesting in your body, I encourage you to start to pay attention to what it's actually trying to tell you, because especially if it's not responding to that conventional, traditional forms of therapy, it might be something deeper that you need to start acknowledging and take ownership of. And it could be something that's a past event in this experience of life that you need to cleanse and purify from a mindset point of view. Maybe it's something you just keep regurgitating, almost like a food that's not settling and you're not digesting it well. Maybe there's some thoughts that you're not digesting well and they're regurgitating. Your body's in a form of belching as a response to those thoughts that you're having. At the end of the day, to me and for me, mental nutrition is even far more important than physical nutrition. And that's not to say you shouldn't eat. That's not my purpose of saying that. What I'm saying is there's examples all over the world of people eating the finest foods, having all the luxuries in the world, and having all these wonderful things. And as we've seen, what happens when those things get pulled away this last year, if we don't have those mental tools in place, we're not getting what we want when we want it, because that's really all our problems revolve around, by the way, is we're either not getting what we want or we are getting what we don't want. And we struggle to deal with that, right? Because we're so used to getting, generally speaking, what we want when we want it in a small amount of time frame that, Lord forbid, should it extend past a few seconds, a few minutes, a few hours, or a few months. And so your mindset is absolutely, from my point of view and experience, and as your therapist and coach, I'm telling you this and imploring to you, it is absolutely number one. So when it comes to hip pain, what is it that, for example, right now in your life, are you struggling to feel grounded, take a step forward, feeling supported within? Think about what the job of the hip actually is, and then translate that across to what it is you might be on an emotional, psychological level, be struggling to take on, acknowledge, or take ownership of, and actually push forward on resolving that mind balance aspect. Because, again, you could go get a hip replacement. You could go get the therapies. You could have all the scans in the world. You can have all the blood tests. But if there's something psycho-emotional below the surface that you're not prepared to acknowledge and take responsibility for, then there's only so much that those modalities are going to help you to achieve. And I say this from a space of experience, professionally and personally. So why have I put this video together? It's to inform you that we need to consider the holistic avenue when it comes to dealing with any type of musculoskeletal pain. Now, why am I saying over 40? Well, the body is like a vehicle. You go get a brand new vehicle and you put maybe probably 1,000 kilometers on it. And if you've not done a tire rotation, oil change, 1,000 kilometers is probably not going to be needed. But let's say now you've done 10,000 kilometers and you've still not done an oil change, tire rotation, or general tune-up on the vehicle. Oh, it's probably still going to be okay, but add a few more hundreds of thousands of kilometers to that vehicle, it's going to start to show some wear and tear. It's going to start to give you some symptoms. And if you don't pay attention, it's eventually going to fail on you. And that's essentially what's happening in our bodies. Even from a baby age, there's already development. As soon as we start to move the body and start to support our head, that's the development of the muscle tone and nerves getting innervated. And what happens straight away is we start to foster certain patterns and habits, and then they evolve more and more. As we get to schools, we're rounding, we're sat, we're forward. And as a result, what we're doing is we're training the muscles to hold us in certain ways, which again, that first 0 to, I'm seeing younger kids coming in all the time now, but I'll say 0 to at least 15 years of age, you kind of get away without regular treatment. But that depends, right? I have some athletes that come in, they're using their bodies extensively, that get beaten up through the sports. And as a result, we're seeing they need that therapy sooner. But just using this analogy that the more time that we've had in this body is essentially the more kilometers, the more mileage we put into our bodies. And if we've not been maintaining them, it's going to start showing more symptoms as we age. And that's where a lot of people go, and I like what my friend Andrew said a few months back, is he said, I'm struggling. I said, how are you doing? He's like, yeah, but I got a little bit of that OLD going on. And my medical mind's trying to break down the OLD, osteo. Before it dawned on me, that was my OLD kicking in. My slow response to his joke there. So what I'm saying is, over time, things are building up in the background. And then that one day, as I've seen countless times, people bend over to pick up a tissue, the shoe off the floor, or go to pick up the kids or the grandkids, and their back is blown. It's not that was the cause. It's the buildup over the number of years and months and so forth in between treatments and therapies and maintaining the body. So here is a short synopsis, and you want to read more, go to my blog, which is in the video link. Well, it's in the blurb below my video here, or in the blurb to the podcast if you're listening in. And there's 2 links. One is for a YouTube video. So if you're done with me talking, go straight to the YouTube video and go learn the stretch that I'm sharing with you this week. It's called the pigeon stretch. It's a great stretch from yoga that's going to help open up your hip flexors on the front side. It's going to help open up your hip extensors and rotators on the posterior outside of the hip. So these are areas that just, they get so much agitation, so much buildup, because, I'm sat down now, there's buildup in the hip flexors and there's engagement in my glutes. If I go and sit in the vehicle, the same thing. And here's one thing in particular I speak to in my blog article. It's my experience is my right leg, being in Canada, is my primary drive leg. So, acceleration, brake, even on cruise control, it's hovering and ready to activate. The left side's a bit more redundant. I also notice my right knee drops into the kind of interior portion of the vehicle between the passenger side and my driver's side, and it just relaxes there. And so my knee's on a bit of an angle. So I've made these corrections there when I'm driving, and I pay more attention to stretching those muscles when I've done longer drives or I've been sat at my desk more often. Why? Because it's building up, and we need to take the time, because otherwise we're building up. You should have filled in the blank, by the way. If you've been reading my book, you should know what I'm going to go to there is postural debt. We all have it, but what are we doing to pay it off? And just like any financial debt, if we're not taking time to pay down, it's just going to get to a point where it's overwhelming. It's the same with the physical body. And that's what's happening as we get to age 40. Why am I saying every parent? Every parent, because I'm a parent. I'm busy with 4 boys. They're all older now, and I try to lift them, but they do a better job of lifting dad these days than me lifting them. But especially when you're at that stage of life that you've been a busy parent and you've spent a lot of time, spend time with them on the ground, spend time with them playing and, doing your thing. Add in your busy workday, add in your commutes that you've probably got, or sitting more at home, reading more, encouraging yourself to dive into those Netflix series. These muscles are harboring a lot of tension. That's the bottom line. So go read my blog because I dive deeper into some information. And very often where we're trying to stretch this week, who's it going to help? It's going to help anybody that's got low back pain, SI or sacroiliac pain, hip immobility, IT band down the outside, runner's type of symptom and pain, knee pain, nerve pain that's going down the leg, including numbness and tingling, and trigger points and any kind of lower back type of pain that's coming from the hips will respond very well to doing this stretch. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I want to share with you this week in that regard. Go read my blog for more information. There's a YouTube video. Go check out the stretch. I'm not going to spend time teaching this stretch right now in this video. I just want you to understand the whys behind the whats, because I'm giving you tons of whats. I hope you're benefiting from them, but I've also got to make sure that I'm supporting you with the whys, because you might be hearing me and that's great, and it might be going in, but it's not going in enough that you're actually following through. So if you're not following through, that's not on me, that's on you. And I encourage you, understand why, because when you understand the reasons why it is important to do X, Y, and Z, and you've got a long list to them, there's a much greater chance that you're going to follow through with it. So either we're going to make the conscious decision that this is the right thing to do and hear the reasons why, or we will wait for a cataclysmic event, a back pain, an injury that stops us literally in our tracks, that forces us to do whatever we need to do to take the necessary action. Which one do you want? Do you want to be proactive and preventative, or do you want to be reactive and inspired by inspiration of desperation, I think is the term I like to use. I heard that from Les Brown last year. The choice ultimately is yours. Focus on your health, your happiness, and vitality. And by virtue, if you improve that, you'll be an example for others around you, and you'll inspire them, and you'll show them the possibilities. And then you can support them in a much greater capacity too. Thank you for joining me. I hope you found that of benefit. Please make sure that you subscribe and get regular updates through notifications, through either my Facebook, my Insta, my YouTube, whatever you're following me on. And if you're listening in on the podcast, then great, do that too. And remember, your muscle health is my #1 priority. Join me again on Thursday, where we will be diving into my new book, The 15-Step Playbook for Pain Relief, which you can still get for free at jasonbarlow.rmt.com. Zip it. Mic drop.